You're listening to the Snob OS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs. Hey, this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
And yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And welcome to the Snob OS show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back, everybody, to this week's show. We want to take a quick second to thank you for your continued support and tuning in. On this week's show, we are going to find out if CarPlay is a necessity for you, then getting a GM branded vehicle might not be the right car for you. Also, iPhone always on display gets a little bit of a tweak in iOS 26. Also, despite all of some of the issues that have been going on with Apple lately, they are still ranked as the quote unquote cool kid at the table. Also, an AWS outage wreaks havoc on practically everyone this week. And in For the Culture, we're going to talk about the King's family getting a significant win in the fight against AI video disinformation. And finally, we're going to let you know what you really need to know about how to get your hypertension app that was announced for iOS 26, how to get that working and what it means for you. Also, before we jump into all of that goodness, we want to take a quick second to remind you that you can listen and or watch our show and rate and review our show over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Also, if you want to become a patron, you can head on over to patreon.com/snobawestcast to find out how you can become a patron, and that allows you to watch the show live and get some exclusive content. With that, we're going to go ahead and jump into this week's show. We're going to kick it off with a lowdown where we talk all things Apple. First up, GM has decided to remove CarPlay, and the interesting thing is they're using Steve Jobs as an inspiration. Like I said before, if you're interested in getting a GM branded vehicle that is Cadillac, Chevy, Buick, and GMC, don't expect any CarPlay. GM is doubling down on a decision to ditch CarPlay, and now it's basically saying Steve Jobs kind of told him to do that. The company's executives are making some truly interesting comparisons, like saying CarPlay is equivalent to mirroring your iPhone on your MacBook or just using a Mac. And from the looks of things, the internet is not quite buying it. What do you make of, one, this new rollout to completely get rid of CarPlay in these GM branded vehicles, and the fact that they are trying to use Steve Jobs to kind of validate that?
Well, they're doing it for two reasons. One, to control the data, because of course data is currency as far as these companies are concerned. If you're using CarPlay, you are sharing your listening information, whether it be what you listen to in Apple Music, what you listen to in podcast app, your maps, where you go, where you frequent. GM ain't get none of that if you're using CarPlay. And all that data is important, especially now car companies specifically are starting the subscription wars. Toyota, Lexus are all starting to make you subscribe to things that they normally provided for free. Mm-hmm. One of which, for example, is navigation. The other, for example, is sharing your phone media with your infotainment system. With certain Lexuses, I don't know which ones, going forward, you will have to subscribe to be able to do navigation, and you'll have to subscribe to be able to stream media from your phone in, I think, Lexus, I want to say for sure. I'm pretty sure all the car companies who are trying to devise new schemes to get more money out of the customers, in addition to buying the car, they're doing the same thing as television. You buy a TV, now you got to either choose cable or you got to stream.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those, you got to pay for those, right?
Right.
Car companies are doing the same thing. You spend so much time in your car, whether it be commuting, vacationing, traveling, whatever the case may be. GM is like, well, we want that data too. And we want those subscriptions too. So for a person who spends a lot of time in their car, they are used to using CarPlay because it's an extension of their phone.
Mm-hmm.
GM and all these other car companies wants to keep you in their own ecosystem. And they want to provide navigation, they want to provide music streaming, they want to provide any other sort of media or information part of their ecosystem. So don't be surprised if maybe 2 years from now, GM launches their subscription plans for media streaming and navigation if they don't already do it. Similar to how they do OnStar. You got to subscribe to OnStar, you get their app, and you can remote start and unlock, which is not uncommon for car companies to offer a subscription service for that. That's like a extra thing, right? Listen to the radio, doing navigation, that's a necessity. And
Right.
these companies are they have to be careful by charging for stuff that we deem as a necessity, because eventually we'll stop using it as a necessity. And GMs better be careful by forcing everything in their own ecosystem if people stop buying their cars because they're already hooked on Apple's ecosystem. So
Yeah, and it's really interesting. If you remember, before it was all about we're going to integrate with the things that you use every day to make this whole experience easy for our customer. We want you, our customer, to have all this easy access. Now it seems like everybody is like, no, give me my thing, give me my thing. And they're hoarding everything and they're cordoning off themselves from everyone else and not really wanting to share. It's like, this is mine and you can't have it. And who's going to suffer in this? The consumer is going to suffer. And I think, unfortunately, it's going to have a bit of a backlash. And people are going to be like, we already have to have an app for every single thing. I mean, like today, I had to go to Midtown to do something and I had to do a parking lot and pay. And typically, in Atlanta, if you use Park Mobile, which is pretty much everywhere, you can do a couple things. You can text to, pay to park. You can scan the QR code, all of that. I did all of that and none of it worked when previously it's been easy peasy. You know what I had to do? I had to go and get the Park Mobile app and then it allowed me to.
Because they want that data.
And it's one of the strangest things because it's always been you could text and they'll send you the link and it'll go to the website. Now it's like, going to the website isn't good enough. We want you in our app. We want your data in our app and we want to force you to use our app. And it just kind of, now I think about it, it's kind of like a full circle thing where it's like everybody now is being a bit selfish and saying we only want to do things in our world. And again, I think it's going to be the consumer that suffers because now you have to not only have an app for every individual thing, you have to have a service for every individual thing. And you're like, but all these things do similar stuff. But if you want to use it in a specific use case, if you think about the car, if you want to get in the car and you want to use your nav system to go somewhere, you can't just, plug in your phone and use Apple Maps that's already native and works seamlessly with your phone. No, now you got to use the car company's navigational system. And now it's like, if you want to, I'm sure it's coming for music, you want to play, your, if you want to play, Apple Music now, it's like, you're probably going to have to, not be able to do that.
Companies are going to charge you a monthly fee just to connect your phone to your car to do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Bluetooth, because you could very well, in a car that does not have CarPlay and does not have no fancy navigation, you can still plug your phone up or use Bluetooth, because Bluetooth is super old. You can still Bluetooth to your car, play. This becomes the infotainment screen and you're just playing music off of this. CarPlay is so convenient because I can plug my phone up or do the wireless car air. I'm sure they're using AirPlay
Mm-hmm.
instead of a combination of AirPlay and Bluetooth for
Right.
Apple. And you can put your phone in your pocket. You can leave your phone in your purse. You can put it in the passenger seat, and you don't have to look at your phone, which is a smaller screen,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to take your hands off the wheel because you can use Siri. Or if you do have to take your phone off the wheel, your hand off the wheel, you're touching your infotainment screen, which is
Mm-hmm.
much larger than your
Then your
phone,
phone.
but you can still do it.
Yeah.
So what I think is going to happen is these companies are going to start taking away the ability to do Bluetooth, taking away the ability to do CarPlay, and people are going to either A, use their AirPods
Mm-hmm.
in the car and turn off the radio, the infotainment altogether. And it's going to revert back to, I'm just using this for temperature controls.
Yeah.
I'm using my phone. I got it on the mount. I got it on the dash. If I want to listen to some music, you don't want to make me collect the Bluetooth, fine. I put my AirPods in, or if you got Beats or whatever the case may be,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm listening to my music, reading my books, doing my podcast, doing my navigation, still on my phone,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be a worse
Yeah.
experience. And I'm just going to go buy another car,
Yeah.
a non-GM or any other company. I'm not saying just GM. Any other company that's going to do this, which they will start doing, people are going to revert back to everything being on their phone, and then people's going to be like, "Well, I'm not even just going to buy this car."
Yeah. Especially since they're the first ones, I think, who have made this decisive decision
Mm-hmm.
to separate. I think maybe some of the other companies are going to kind of see how this plays out
Mm-hmm.
before they take the leap either way. But I had another story kind of sidelined, and I was like, no, I don't think I'd rather talk about this part of GM than the other. But based on this conversation, it all goes hand in hand. So an article that I saw on Ars Technica said General Motors will integrate AI into its cars plus new hands-free assist. So basically just what you said, they are going to integrate this themselves
Mm-hmm.
rather than having to have to have this integration between Apple or between Samsung or between Google or whomever. And it seems like this is their plan, is to back away from having to do these forced integrations, because you have to have partnerships with these companies to make sure that everything is compatible.
And I don't believe that is I don't even believe that's a challenge, because in one of the stories that you put in here, because GM is still going to work with Apple Wallet.
Yeah.
So the integration ain't that hard.
No.
So I don't want to hear, oh, we got to partner with Apple, and we got to partner with Android, and
You've been doing that for other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like you said, they want their own control.
Mm-hmm. And they want to charge for it.
And again, we've said this many, many times before. Data is currency. Data is gold.
Which is why, on a side note, everybody has these loyalty programs, and I'm a victim of it too. I've got loyalty programs with McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and a couple other ones, and they've got it to where you can add your wallet to the app. You can, and they give you if you use the app you
get points,
you get rewards.
Yep.
And you open, and then psychology. If I feel like I'm getting something, I'm getting a benefit, I'm twice as likely to use the app. Yeah. Which means I'm twice as likely for them to get data from me.
Yep.
And I'm twice as likely to use their service, eat at their restaurant, whatever, because I need to use the rewards that I've earned
that you basically paid for. But
right.
Again, it's this psychological thing. It's the way the human mind works, and they figured it out. And there's like, you know what, we're going to capitalize on it, because everything that we use and purchase, like you said, has that loyalty program. And it's like this, I have to do it, I have to do it, I have to go here because if I get 100 more points, I'll get a free XYZ.
Or my points are expiring, let me go ahead and use them. Right.
And that's the latest thing. They add the expiration points using extra. If I spent my money doesn't expire, right? So why should these points? But it's like, nope, we got to keep you on the hamster wheel.
Got to keep you spending. With Fandango, for example, me and my wife went to watch a movie 2 weeks ago, and because of that, I got $5 rewards. But they're like, these joints expire in a week. So it's like, I just went to the movies. You want me to turn back around
And
and
go
go
back.
back to the movies just
They're
to
like, yes.
get a little funky $5 off? And they're like, yeah. And then some people do it, and they got us.
Yeah, that's when we're talking about me getting the AirPods. And I was like, I have to buy them at Best Buy because I have a credit and it's running out at the end of the month and that's free money. So I have to go there and I have to go there and buy these things so I can get this free money.
So car companies are jumping on the train.
Yep.
That's all they doing.
And the consumer is screwed yet again. All right. The next thing, iOS has made a subtle but can appear as a controversial change to the way that the iPhone's always on display is. So now it will blur your wallpaper by default instead of just dimming it. And according to Apple, its claim it's for better legibility. But if you actually like seeing your lock screen photo, which a lot of people do because they select photos for specific reasons, you might feel like, what's even the point of this? And we've talked about, I think, the always on, several times on this show. And again, I know for me, my lock screen a lot of times is right now it's a picture of when I was in Tahiti a few years ago. And when I look at it, it gives me a calming feeling. And that's what I use it for. So now if you're into this, what's set as default, you can flip it back, but it's going to be now defaulted that the wallpaper blurs instead of just dims. Is this really a big thing to you? As we always know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and they're saying this is controversial, and people are complaining. But we know how that works. But for you, is this really going to make a difference for you?
I don't believe so. My home screen, my lock screen is a picture of my kids, and when I have it always on display, and when I lock the screen, it blurs the image in the background and the date and the time, which is the only little widgets I have up here, are present. I'm not sure if this is already out. Did it come out with earlier, like iOS 26, or is this like something that's coming up in like a beta that people have already caught on to?
I think it's coming out. Did it say it's coming out in 26? I'm scrolling through the article now to see. No, I think it's already on. I think it's already available.
Right. So I'm trying to do my phone right now. I'm locking the screen, and then when I look at it or tap the screen to unlock it, it does blur the background.
It does blur it. I'm looking at mine now. Yeah, it does blur it.
But I don't remember what it looked like before. The way they've done it, to Apple's credit, it looks like it's always been like this. I can't really tell between looking at the lock screen right now with the blur. So I've got it locked and always on display is on right now. If you're looking at if you're watching this on YouTube or in Patreon, I've got my iPhone, what is this? 16 Pro Max. And I've got the always on display, and the prominent stuff is the date and the time. And behind that, my kids, but it is blurred. But then as soon as I touch the screen and unlock it, it's all
unblurred.
Yeah, it's unblurred. And then the phone and the date and the time takes the background. It's fine to me.
And the only other thing, I'm looking on my screen, I have a notification on, and the notification is still prominent. But it's just the screen that's blurred. And if you go to the always on display section in the settings, under the customize, it has show wallpaper or blur wallpaper. And you can toggle, whichever one you toggle on, the other one toggles off. So,
so I'm going to do this live. I went to always on display, and I toggled off the blur, the wallpaper photo. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got it turned off. So now if I like this.
You like which version?
The one where it doesn't blur. So now, right now, you can see the picture and you can see the time and the date. The only thing I don't like about it is it doesn't put the date behind my kids like with before. It would like do this thing. So now it's doing it, right? So
Yeah.
now the screen is unlocked for those. Again, if you're listening, you got to pretend like you're paying attention.
Or try it with your phone. Follow along.
Right. So now my screen is unlocked and then my kids are prominent and the date and the time is behind. But as soon as the screen locks, it dims.
And it pushes the date and the time forward.
Right. But my kids are still visible. So
Yeah.
the screen is still visible. So I'm going to have to play with it, see which one I like better. But now that I've turned it on or off, I think I don't know. Let me
You
check back with me in a week.
gotta have it for a little while to
Yeah.
see which one you like or you don't. If you are new to this new feature as well, let us know what you think, or if you're playing, if you're like Terrance, you're toggling back and forth on to see which one you actually like. Definitely hit us up on social media or on the Discord channel and let us know. All right, the last thing we have in the lowdown, even with all of the issues with Apple Intelligence, even some of the stuff that's going on with Trump, Apple still tops the global brand ranking for the 12th straight year. But in this particular article, they're saying the twist is Apple isn't, and this is a little bit of Apple glazing, as the kids say, is they're saying that the reason Apple is still popular is because everybody else is full throttle in AI, and Apple has kind of stepped back from that, and they compare it to Nvidia. Nvidia, a super popular company, their growth is in the triple digits. It's 116% jump. That's a huge jump. While Apple is actually down 4%, but is still beating the next closest competition by $80 million. So I wanted to ask you, on the heels of this, do you think it's solely because of brand recognition? Do you think that Apple is just holding steady and could be on the bubble? And if they don't fix Apple Intelligence, then this could, really sink it? Or what do you really think, is the reasoning behind, Apple's 12-year straight dominance in, the global brand rankings?
Hopefully, this experiment, air quotes, with Apple Intelligence is a warning to Apple to don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers and lakes that you used to. What makes Apple so popular, in my opinion, is the fact that they are there's a lot of brand recognition, a lot of brand loyalty, and they just make solid products, right? For whatever reason, that is not enough for these companies to make a good product and have great brand loyalty. They're always something else, something else, something else. Again, that's how capitalism works. I guess that's how competition works. But at the same time, Apple failing, for lack of a better term, with Apple Intelligence may force them to lean more on their brand loyalty and lean more into their solid hardware and software products. Maybe beef them up, maybe make them cheaper, maybe offer more features, maybe offer more colors. But Apple does need to keep their brand loyalty and not chase after the new shiny thing. We can all agree that AI is the new shiny thing. And we can all agree that a lot of these companies have jumped out the window trying to integrate, offer, support AI,
And not prepared for it.
right. And people are scrambling. Employees don't know what to do. Companies want to integrate it, but they are not sure what works best for their company. They just know they need it, so they just get it. So it's a lot of mixed messaging over AI. What can I do? What can I do? And we're all trying to figure it out. And companies are just jumping out of the window, trying to offer their version, trying to offer their take, and that may possibly be a negative again, but in their opinion, I'm assuming the benefits of integrating AI right now to them is more of a a risk that they're willing to take versus like waiting on the fence and seeing which way it goes. I'm not saying Apple should wait on the fence, but maybe this AI issue or challenge that they're facing maybe will make sure they tread lightly before
Yeah.
they are one of these companies that's just chasing AI. And as a result, they kind of skimp on the brand loyalty and they skimp on the their product, as far as quality is the word I was looking for, so hopefully Apple doesn't do that. But to answer your question, I do believe that Apple is still popular because brand loyalty and because they make a dope product, and ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing is, I think Apple is probably realizing now, and I've said this before and I'll, say it again. This AI stuff is really, really hard. It's really complex, and people were so willing, especially in the beginning, did just about anything
To be first.
whether it was needed or not, just to slap AI on to say, see, we're innovative, we're in with the time, not realizing that you need time for stuff to kind of settle and bake a little bit before you jump head first in. And the biggest thing to me when it comes to this AI race is being able to be cognizant enough to determine, is adding an AI element to whatever product or service you're selling, is it necessary? Is it going to elevate the product? Is it going to elevate the service? Or are you just doing this for lack of a better term, clout, just so you're not left out of the conversation? And what I think Apple has done at this point is realize that they jumped too soon before they realized the full scope of what it would take. And I think that's why they're now kind of dialing it back, because they realize in what they do and why they are so successful and what they produce is not conducive to this version of AI. And like I said it a billion times, AI is the scope that the average person thinks of AI is so small as compared to what AI can really do. And again, they are just trying to sell things and get on the bandwagon to say that they have AI. And Apple has never needed to do this because they have the brand recognition, they have the loyalty, they have all the cash to do all these things. And again, I think it was kind of like that knee-jerk reaction to say, we got to do something. We've waited, a few years after, ChatGPT and all these others, and like, oh, we got to do something because now everybody's looking at us funny. And then their first effort, their foray into it, even after waiting, was not good. And people are like, we waited all this time for this and it's still not great. I think, and I truly hope that they're recognizing this and they're staying true to the Apple ethos and, delivering what we need and not necessarily what they think we want.
What a lot of these companies are doing with AI is they're trying to figure out how to offer it as a product to end users, to consumers, to the public, instead of maybe looking at AI as a benefit for the company, like for your employees
internally
and for your, contractors, or for, whatever the case may be. They just skip right over that and right over to how can we make money selling this to how we make a product out of this. And I think more companies need to go back to the drawing board and look at, okay, how does AI help our company? Not necessarily how does our company make money off of AI?
Right. And there are definitely instances where that's true, where you want to give something to the customer. But in my experience, if you're in a company, including AI in the way that you build things, that's where your real benefit is going to come from. It's going to make your work easier. It's going to make it more streamlined, and you're going to be able to get products out faster. And like you said, in the race to sell something or make more money up front initially, they aren't seeing the long-term gains of, let's put this into our systems. And by default, giving it time, if it's going to make our employers, work a little bit lighter, they're going to allow us to move at a quicker pace, a quicker velocity. Those things equal money rather than just actual dollars and cents on a balance sheet for selling something to somebody. But again, they're still the cool kid. And I think the next closest person is Microsoft, and they're like 80 billions dollars difference between first and second place. So, and this is on them, having a 4% down year. So hopefully this is a sign to Apple to, let's work on the inside stuff before we start working on outside stuff.
Apple, I think they overestimated their ability to provide artificial intelligence on device. And to bring it back to the brand recognition, Apple, if this would have worked, I think Apple would have, full speed ahead. And then again, they would have possibly lost some of that brand loyalty because they would have had to sacrifice, or they would have had to renege, for lack of a better word, on the security aspect of Apple. Apple is security, privacy,
protection,
safe,
all that stuff.
Right. In order to provide Apple Intelligence the way they wanted to, they would have had to have moved all that data, all that information to the cloud.
Yeah.
And that would have been, if somebody get hold of it, then Apple can no longer say.
That can no longer be their shining achievement, the thing that they hold over everybody else.
Right. So Apple made the smart move is to hold back or cancel or pivot or about face on Apple Intelligence. So maybe this is their lesson.
Hopefully so. Hopefully for us, that's the case. All right, that is going to wrap up the lowdown. Let's head over to Second String, where we talk all other tech. So there's a problem with being popular sometimes. And AWS, unfortunately, is the latest lesson learned, the latest victim of this so-called being popular. AWS, Amazon Web Services, had the worst outage since the CrowdStrike outage a couple of years ago. This happened on Monday, I believe, and there was a DNS problem with the oldest Virginia data center that brought down literally half of the internet for the entire day. And it's estimated at this point that the damages from this is going to be in the hundreds of billions with a B of dollars due to the failure and the amount of people that use AWS. So, I mean, all of the social media platforms were out. And, that's always where it goes first. But it's bigger than just the social media aspects. Banks, airlines, all of these people use AWS because it is so popular. Because for the most part, it's really good. But when the really good thing has a bad day, it's bad for everybody.
So let me read this. Popular apps like Snapchat, Signal, and Reddit went dark. Flights got delayed. Banks and financial services went down. Massive games like Fortnite could not be accessed. Some of Amazon's own services were hit too, like Alexa, Prime Video. Ultimately, millions of businesses simply stopped operating, unable to log employees into their systems or accept payments for their goods.
Yeah. And this is half of the internet. So it was really bad. And I'm not sure if how accurate it is because I saw it in passing. Apparently there's some, like the top engineer at all of Amazon, he lives on this yacht and he had to sell his yacht into some specific area and fix the DNS issue.
As in sale, as in like travel, not sell.
Travel, yes. Travel, not purchase.
Rid of it. Okay.
Yeah. And again, like I said, this was an all-day thing. And you just listed the different industries that were affected. And again, it says it's the oldest data center that Amazon has that caused this problem. And we just talked about brand recognition. When it comes to that and people's comfort level with this, I don't know how easy and what the alternatives are to roll off of something as big as AWS to something else. The issues that it would cause. I think at this point, companies are just going to have to eat it because, I mean, what's the alternative?
Well,
What do you?
this story kind of highlights a possibility. It says for Amazon, the backlash risks hitting its bottom line hard if too many customers pivot to other cloud technology providers. Financial services firms, which may be the most risk averse to Amazon's customers, think the solution might be a multi cloud strategy, distributing critical workloads across two or more major providers, such as AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud.
Oh.
The problem with that is going to be these companies were just AWS.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going to say, we're gonna our footprint with Amazon AWS is gonna be a little bit smaller, and we're
We're
going
going
to
to split it
divide
up
that.
against these other three.
Right, because if you cost me money,
Yeah.
I'm going to cost you money.
Right.
And that's exactly what's happening. Amazon is costing these companies money, and they don't like that. So they're not going to just be like, "Oh, dang, that was messed up. We
Well,
trust y'all now." Right. These companies are going to pivot and add to and redistribute and reallocate right out of Amazon's bottom line. So they may not feel it right now,
yeah.
but Q1 next year, as these companies start integrating multiple cloud services, Amazon's going to be pissed. But the only thing they can point back to is y'all run half
You
the
did
internet.
this. Yeah.
And when something goes down, we down. So it's either me or you, and it ain't going to be me.
It's not going to be me, not again. And the interesting thing is when you look at these companies, a lot of them are large companies who have the financial resources. And it's always shocking to me that their failover systems, meaning when their primary system has an issue, a glitch, or goes down, their failover option is usually AWS on a different server rather than having a failover to maybe another service. So it's just interesting how some of these, folks in leadership, how they make these decisions. Again, as we talked about earlier with, GM pulling back from CarPlay and Apple, is how data is so important, how valuable it is, in an actual physical sense, meaning the money behind it, but also in the access that it provides. And, you not having the proper, tolerance to handle a default, a faulty DNS server, not having a better option. And, I think, a multi-cloud approach is smart, but also you can't forget about the failover. If you have this multi-cloud approach, what happens if one of the three go down? Who's going to pick up that one? What is your failover option? What's your backup option?
And I'm pretty sure AWS has redundancy. I'm pretty sure they have all that stuff. But again, this is so funny, right? Because according to Amazon, they say ZDNet, the story, people who wrote this or first reported, ZDNet noted that Amazon's first sign of outage was increased error rates and latency across numerous key services tied to its cloud database technology, yada, yada, yada. Engineers later identified a domain name system, DNS resolution problem. Now, I don't work at Amazon, but there have been plenty of times to where I've been working with my website or working with somebody else's website and having DNS issues and trying to figure out the IP address and the domain name or whatever.
Trying to resolve the differences.
I should not be having the same problems that Amazon is having. as something as not simple, because DNS is not simple,
It's
because
not.
it's very complex.
Yeah.
But that is like the first thing you look at. That's the first thing I look at. If I go
Yeah.
to brothertech.com or I go to snoboscast.com
Mm.
and nothing appears, the first thing I'm going to go do is go log into the back end and see if the DNS
Matches.
is matching, right? So
Yeah.
it's crazy how Amazon Web Services, such a large service, such a large platform that is many of companies depend on it. The problem was a DNS resolution
record.
problem.
Yep.
And it's like, all right, now Amazon, I don't know what y'all doing over there, but maybe y'all need to hire your boy. So next time this happens, I'll be like, you know what we need to look at? And make sure DNS
Let's
is
look
right.
at the DNS records and see if they are aligned. I mean, Amazon got the same problems as us. They just have the billions and billions of dollars.
Too
And,
much is given,
and
much
we
is
don't.
required. Too much is given.
Exactly.
Y'all can't be out here messing around with DNS like I do on my
Right.
little funky website.
Let's just see if we can figure it out on the fly.
Right.
No, you need a solid plan.
Yeah, don't
Who's
touch
your
nothing.
networking? Who's head of networking over there at Amazon that's handling this? Well, AWS, because I know they like to distinguish Amazon from AWS. So
Yeah, when things are
AWS.
going wrong. That stock ticker say Amazon. It don't say Amazon and AWS and Android or whatever the case may be. It is Amazon. So take the hit.
take it. And I had another little tidbit in here because people were talking about their beds were, of course, connected to the internet.
Ain't that crazy?
And it was either overheating because it has these cooling systems, or it was freezing them, or they were stuck in an incline position.
Ain't that crazy?
And couldn't get out of it.
Hopefully
Your
this,
bed.
Hopefully this is a lesson for society. We need not to be so dependent on this technology, because it's going to do us in. Either it's going to try to destroy us, or we're going to break it and not be able to fix it. And then we're going to be stuck sideways in the bed.
And I think these are
burning up.
$2,500 beds. And
they
I
cheap.
think just goes to show everything doesn't have to be connected to the internet. Everything doesn't have to be on the internet. Some things, it's okay to keep analog. It's okay. It's not gonna kill you.
Right.
It's fine.
Crazy.
So crazy.
They got toilets connected to the internet now, so I can imagine a worldwide catastrophic event or cyber warfare. If I was a terrorist reading these websites just like we are, it's like,
Yep.
First place I'm gonna hit and mess up their toilets, and they're gonna be screwed.
Or their fridge, because I know I think I had it bookmarked. I forgot to even add it, but tangent. These refrigerators that they have where it has like the built-in panel where you can like order groceries, or you can kind of like keep a track of what you need to add. Now that they've gotten you so stuck on, I have this basically screen on my refrigerator that helps me in the kitchen. Now they're going to start running ads on your refrigerator.
We can see the end, and we can't stop it for some strange reason.
Cannot. And we get sucked in every time, and it's like, dang it.
This is the end of days, man. I'm telling you.
I mean, literally. I don't think we got much more time on this giant rock.
Just one good thing goes wrong, and it is a wrap.
It's donezo for us. All right, that is going to wrap it up for Second String. We're going to head on into For the Culture, where we're talking about what's going on around us. So a few weeks ago, I was on DTNS, and Sora, I think it's Sora 2, was, I don't know if it's still in beta or not, but it was in beta when I was on the show with them, and Tom basically did a live demonstration of how this works. Basically, you type in a sentence, and it creates you this video of whatever you typed. And we did a couple different videos, and it was surprisingly good. And the one that he did was like something weird with someone being on a unicorn doing a ring toss. But the video built out this whole scenario where it made a birthday party and it did a banner, did in the backyard, did all of these things. And so we laughed because it was funny, and we did a couple other things. Of course, it was all in a good fun, but we know people can be trash sometimes. And they were going to take this technology and do very, very bad things with it. And that was the case with videos that people were making of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I want to say a couple other people, I think.
Yeah, let me read this part. It
Okay.
said, even though, so this is two parts, right? Cristiela Garcia, an intellectual property law professor at Georgia Law, said for OpenAI to only act after King's estate complained is consistent with the company's, quote, asking for forgiveness and not permission approach, right? So we got that part. So we figured that. I mean, everybody knew that going in. It's like, oh, this is going to be a problem. And it became a problem when the estate of MLK complained, right? But the app allowed people to make videos of many celebrities and historical figures without explicit consent, enabling users to create fake footage of Princess Diana, John F. Kennedy, Kurt Cobain, Malcolm X, and many others. And it just goes to the fact that these companies do not care unless we make them care. So why are we, I feel like we are looking to these companies to guide us into the future, right? We are giving them too much control. We're giving them too much authority. We are giving them too much everything. And they are companies. They are going to do what's best for them. And even if that means abusing or not taking into account the people who are actually using the product. So I think we as a society, we as humans are going to have to do a better job, similar to how MLK's estate. We got to complain.
Yeah.
We're going to have to start complaining. We're going to have to start writing letters, emails. We're going to have to go back to old school calling congressmen. You know, people feel like, well, I ain't doing that. We're going to have to start doing it, because if we just assume that, oh man, it's just for this one thing, I'm glad that they complain. Now Martin Luther King can't be used. That don't mean they're turning it off for everybody. They're just turning it off to whoever complains.
Yeah.
So the more people complain, the more they will regulate. The less people complain, these companies are going to go full steam ahead.
Right. And like you said, what the ultimate end that happened between the King family estate and OpenAI is they released this joint statement, of course, on Twitter, and they meaning OpenAI has now blocked all of people being able to generate images of Dr. Martin Luther King. But that doesn't extend to everybody else. Again, Bernice King and the family estate had to basically go, and I think there had to be some litigation involved to say, we need to stop this. So now anybody can do this, but the onus is on the individual person to reach out to OpenAI and say, take my loved one's image off of this. So it's now on the individual to opt out instead of opt out of having their family or themselves likeness used, rather than the opposite of being, hey, this is a new platform. If you want to opt in, then let us know. And what it does is a couple things that it does. It, again, one, puts the onus on the individual, but that's already after the harm is done. Imagine some of the videos that people were doing were just disgusting. And not only for Dr. King, but I think SpongeBob had a huge run on Sora as well. Mickey Mouse. They had all of these people have intellectual property, but they were still being used in this platform. So now you, the individual, have to go to OpenAI and say, no, don't use our information.
This reminds me of people on Facebook. I do not consent to Facebook using my photos and advertisements. And it's like, that's what it's going to come down to.
I know I laughed when I saw people do that. I'm like, they're not reading this. But now this is where we are
Right.
because a lot of these videos were fooling people, especially, Facebook has a tendency to be an older audience and they're seeing these videos on Facebook and they are going off, not realizing that these images are fake and people are not attuned yet to be able to delineate what's fake and what's not, because now it's gotten really good. Before, when we first got into this image generation, you could tell when it was fake. There'd be 7 fingers on one hand, or the
Face is
the
half
face.
off.
Yeah, it would be obvious. But now that it's gotten so good, people aren't able to tell the difference. And I don't know if you saw it. There's this young kid, this teenager, TikToker, doing stupid stuff online to generate content. Well, the Department of Homeland Security basically took this kid's video and changed it to be something different than it was. It changed it from, I think when it was some trend about Iran that everybody was doing on TikTok. That's what his video was about. But then they took it and switched it and made it seem like he was going after ICE. And it was a group of his little friends with him or whatever. And they had on like the masks, what do they call the ski masks? Shiesties. And, being kids doing stuff. And this kid started getting death threats. Now the government is like watching him. And it's all because the government, Department of Homeland Security, changed the text of the video to make it seem as if it's something it wasn't. So in that respect, when my first introduction with Sora was when we saw it on the Fun and Games, and now you have, people's likeness and images being to distort, the truth and make, disparaging things, to all the way to now the federal government is manipulating these videos to suit whatever narrative they're trying to build. And you can see just in the last month when this new version of Sora came out to today, what happened in a month from it being fun and games to now the federal government is using it to put out a false message.
Right. And we're all susceptible to it. I scroll through Instagram, TikTok, and laugh at videos and be like, oh man, that was fake. And now I'm bummed out because I got fooled. And not the fact that I got fooled, I didn't believe it. It's just entertainment. But the fact that I'm watching this video, assuming that this is a thing that happened, and I'm either laughing or liking or not laughing and not liking, the fact that that is a thing now, it's like everybody is susceptible. We are high tech, in the mix, in the know how things work. And we're susceptible, even if it's just something as simple as just scrolling through Instagram and commenting on a video. Come to find out, it ain't even real. Right.
Yeah.
So like I said, I kind of get bummed out because I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to know this. I'm supposed to recognize this. In what world? Right. In what world is this happening? And it's like, in no world, because it's fake.
It's absolutely fake. And I will say before we get out of this, I did see an article from YouTube. They are basically trying to implement changes as well to combat some of what they're calling AI doppelgangers, basically being able to detect likenesses that are inaccurate. So it's one of those things, because I think the government in general doesn't know how to handle this. They didn't put proper guardrails on AI when it first, made the scene, because honestly, a lot of them didn't understand it themselves. They're still trying to figure out how to do attachments.
I don't think they want the responsibility, to be honest.
Yeah. And even more now with where we are with this current administration, it's even wider gap. So now all these individual companies are trying to do things to combat it, because they're seeing now that the blowback looks bad on them. But again, everybody is doing their own fixes, and there isn't anything that is centralized
And not only that,
guidelines for people to follow.
and not only that, the companies ain't gonna regulate themselves.
No.
YouTube can say that they are putting out a likeness detection feature, or if y'all really concerned, ban AI from Google. We know that ain't happening.
No.
So, yeah,
They'll
thank
only
you.
do it as much as it doesn't affect their bottom line. A lot of these things, they are for appearance sake to say, see, we tried. See, we're doing something. When in actuality, it's like, we'll do a little bit, but not too much, especially if it's going to take down our bottom line. All to say is that AI, people keep talking about the AI bubble. I think certain parts are on the bubble. But again, like I said, and I'll continue to say, AI is so much larger than what people are giving it credit for. And because one thing may be on the bubble of collapsing, meaning your chat, your generative AI, your chat bots, those types of things, the other things of AI are not. And it's only going to get even worse, especially when it's pretty much pay to play for most of these companies with regard to regulation and fines and being held accountable.
And
There isn't any.
And just data on the
Yeah.
last part of this story. It says YouTube says the first batch of eligible creators have been notified that they can use likeness detection, but interested parties will need to hand Google, of all people, even more personal information to get the protection from AI fakes. So it's like y'all done created a problem to create a solution.
Yeah.
It's like somebody creating a disease
Yeah.
and then creating a cure and being like, here you go.
And selling it. You can buy it from us,
Right.
but you caused the problem. Making money, both sides, both ends. I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know what we're gonna do. It's wild out here. All right, let's head into the hookup for our tech tip of the week. I actually have one this week. I think we talked about it a little bit before on a different show, but my mom texted me last week and was like, hey, I need an app that, for blood pressure. And I was like, okay. I was like, Apple has one now. What version is your Apple Watch? And she told me the version. I was like, unfortunately, your version of the Apple Watch is not going to help. And there is no app on the market, standalone app for your iPhone that will measure your blood pressure. There are a lot of apps that are
Let make sure you're specific. Hypertension
detection. Because most of the apps that I've seen that they toggle between hypertension, most of them say blood pressure because I think it's easier for people to understand. But a lot of the apps in the App Store, they are for monitoring, logging, tracking, but you have to enter the information in, or you have to have a device that when you when you take your blood pressure, it has an app that does that. So to get all that data. So I say all this to say, we talked about it before, the hypertension app, and with Apple, it doesn't say, you have it. It's always as possible hypertension. So a couple things for you to be able to use your Apple Watch and your, the hypertension app, it has to be between Apple Series 9 and later. So that's 9 to 11, and the Ultra 2 and later. So that's basically Ultra 2 and 3. And you have to be running, obviously, iOS 26 because this is what's introduced on the iOS 26 version. You have to have wrist detection enabled on your Apple Watch. A lot of people use it, because it has fall detection. When you fall, it can tell if you took a tumble or not. And you have to be over 22 years old, not pregnant, and not already have been diagnosed with hypertension. So this is for people who basically have a clean slate when it comes to hypertension. And, it's pretty straightforward. Go to the Health app, tap on the icon profile in the top corner, and under features, you have to tap on Health Checklist. Then you have to tap hypertension notifications. You have to confirm some of the things that I said before, like your age, if you've ever been diagnosed with hypertension or pregnancy, those things that I said before that were caveats. You tap the continue button. And then the next thing, it basically gives you a rundown on what you can expect for those notifications. It just gives you a heads up on what to expect. Then you tap done. And after getting through all those, 7 steps, you won't start getting those notifications about your hypertension immediately, because what it does is it's a 30-day cycle. And what it's using is it's just gathering this information over the course of a month to kind of get what I'm assuming is to get a baseline for where you are, the kind of activity that you do, because, you have your exercise and all those types of things, your breathing, all those things that go into, taking your blood pressure for hypertension. And basically this is just going to give you, what is it? Like a summary of what has happened over the 30 days to kind of get in a rhythm to understand how your specific body works, because all of our bodies are different and we have different contributing factors to that as well.
Right. So what it does, rather than measuring blood pressure, Apple Watch looks at your heart data and searches for patterns associated with hypertension. Mm-hmm. It's not measuring your blood pressure. It's not measuring hypertension. It's measuring your patterns, measuring your statistics, and looking for patterns. And then another notification or another point to highlight, Apple Watch cannot identify every instance of hypertension. Mm-hmm. Regular measurements with a blood pressure cuff are the most effective way to look for hypertension. And the cuff is the actual thing that when
they put on your arm and it squeezes.
Right. Yep. The only true way to detect for hypertension and blood pressure. But what this does is it looks for patterns and says, hey, this may be a pattern. You may want to look into this.
Similar to we've seen on a lot of the Apple videos, and they talk about heart attacks. And, your Apple Watch says, hey, this is elevated. You may want to sit down or call somebody. It gives you those warnings to say, hey, things look a little off. Take a beat and get checked out. We're just giving you kind of like a heads up that we've noticed that there is a change. So I know I've turned it on my phone to kind of see what it says and how it works. And again, you got to give it that 30 days before you start to see any type of results. And if you have nothing else for the tech, I think that's going to wrap up the show for this week. Where can the people find you, Brother Tech?
Yeah, you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And you can find me at Tech Savvy Diva everywhere. And you can find our show pretty much all over the interwebs at Snobble West Cast. You can head on over to our website, snobblewestcast.com. You can connect with us there. You can comment, you can share, and you can support the show and get all the details around what we do here at Snobble West. And with that, we're going to wrap it up, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.